The Man Who Lost Time, the tragic true story of Clive Wearing. A life erased, the unimaginable tragedy of Clive Wearing. Imagine waking up every few seconds with no memory of what happened before. Imagine feeling as if you had just emerged from unconsciousness, as if every moment were the first moment of your life. Imagine keeping a diary where each entry, written minutes apart, repeatedly claims, "I am awake for the first time," only for the previous entries to be crossed out as if they were lies. This is the devastating reality of Clive Wearing, a man whose life was shattered in 1985 by a rare and catastrophic brain infection. Once a brilliant musician and conductor, Wearing was left with the most profound case of amnesia ever recorded. He cannot form new memories, and his past has been almost entirely erased. For the last 4 decades, he has lived in a state of perpetual present, unable to recall his past, but constantly believing he has just become conscious for the first time. His diary is filled with heartbreaking, repetitive entries that reveal the depth of his condition. His story is one of scientific intrigue, immense tragedy, and the unwavering power of love. The man before amnesia, a brilliant mind in music. Before his illness, Clive Wearing was a highly respected musician, conductor, and musicologist. Born in 1938 in Britain, he developed an early passion for music, studying at prestigious institutions and quickly making a name for himself in choral and early music performance. By the 1970s, Wearing was at the height of his career, working with the BBC and directing the London Sinfonietta. He had an extraordinary ability to analyze complex compositions, and his deep knowledge of Renaissance and Baroque music made him one of Britain's most sought-after musicians. He was particularly fascinated by the music of William Byrd and Josquin des Prez, studying and performing their works with an unparalleled level of expertise. He was not only a scholar, but also a charismatic performer. Wearing's energy on stage, his passion for music, and his meticulous understanding of musical structures made him a brilliant conductor and broadcaster. Most importantly, he had found the love of his life, Deborah Wearing, a woman with whom he shared a profound emotional and intellectual bond. Their life together was filled with music, adventure, and deep conversations, a life that was tragically torn apart in an instant. The day everything changed, the onset of amnesia. In March 1985, Wearing was struck by an extremely rare and devastating case of herpes simplex encephalitis, a viral infection that attacks the brain. While most people recognize herpes simplex as the virus responsible for cold sores, in extremely rare cases it can travel to the brain and cause massive neurological damage. The virus attacked Wearing's medial temporal lobes, including the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for creating and storing new memories. It also caused severe damage to parts of his frontal lobe, affecting his ability to process time and maintain a continuous sense of self. When Wearing awoke in the hospital, he had suffered catastrophic memory loss. His world had been shattered into fragments, with only seconds of consciousness at a time before everything reset. The most extreme case of amnesia ever recorded. Wearing's condition is known as anterograde and retrograde amnesia, meaning he cannot form new memories, anterograde, and has lost nearly all his past memories, retrograde. His case is considered the most severe amnesia ever studied in medical history. He experiences life in bursts of consciousness, lasting mere seconds, before his mind resets. To him, it feels as if he is constantly waking up for the first time. His diary, which he obsessively writes to try and make sense of his existence, is a tragic testament to his condition. The entries repeat themselves in a never-ending cycle of forgetting and rediscovering consciousness. Now I am awake for the first time. I have just become conscious. I have never been awake before now. Each time he writes an entry, he believes he has just woken up from unconsciousness, unaware that he had written the exact same thing just moments earlier. He crosses out previous entries, convinced they must be false because he has no recollection of writing them. His brain has essentially become a broken record, constantly restarting but never moving forward. Wearing retains only a few seconds of short-term memory, and once those moments pass, they are erased forever. Unlike most amnesia patients, he cannot even use context clues to reconstruct reality. He does not know how old he is, what year it is, or even who he was before his illness. Despite the catastrophic damage to his memory, not everything was lost. Some pieces of his past survived, forming what neuroscientists call islands of memory, fragments that somehow remained intact. One of these miraculous islands is music. Despite his amnesia, Wearing still remembers how to play the piano and conduct music. When he sits at a keyboard, his fingers instinctively move across the keys with the same skill and mastery as before. This is because music is deeply embedded in procedural memory, a part of the brain separate from the hippocampus. While Wearing cannot remember learning to play, the neural pathways responsible for motor skills and musical execution remain functional. Even more remarkable is his love for his wife, Deborah. Although he forgets her name when she is absent, the moment she enters the room, his face lights up with recognition and overwhelming joy. Each time he sees her, he believes it is the first time they have been reunited in years. He embraces her as if he had been lost for eternity, overwhelmed with emotion. In a life where every moment vanishes in an instant, his love for Deborah remains constant. A life without memory, the emotional impact. While Wearing's case has provided invaluable insight into the workings of human memory, it has also been an unimaginable tragedy. He is trapped in a state of perpetual confusion, unable to grasp the concept of time, continuity, or personal history. His intelligence remains intact, but without memory, his existence is fragmented and disorienting. He often experiences panic, frustration, and rage, unable to comprehend why his world is so unfamiliar. Deborah has spent years caring for him, advocating for research, and keeping his memory alive through her writing. She describes their love as one that has endured despite amnesia, proving that even in the most tragic circumstances, human connection can survive. The legacy of Clive Wearing, what science has learned. Clive Wearing's case has been one of the most extensively studied in neuroscience, helping researchers understand how memory works, how it fails, and what remains when it is lost. His condition has provided critical insight into the role of the hippocampus in memory formation, demonstrated the distinction between procedural memory, skills, habits, and declarative memory, facts, events, highlighted how emotions and deep-seated love can survive even when cognitive memory is lost. Though he remains trapped in an endless present, Wearing's life has reshaped our understanding of the human brain. His story is both a tragedy and a testament to the resilience of music, love, and the human spirit. Clive Wearing's life was stolen from him in an instant, his memories shattered beyond repair. Yet, in his darkest reality, he still finds light in music and love. His diary tells the story of a man who wakes up every moment with no past, but his face, when he sees his wife, tells the story of a man who never forgot how to love. Though he may not remember his own story, the world will never forget it.